Okay, just had a little teaching moment there because basically what happened was my computer crashed between my two examples and I hadn't saved. So here's the teaching moment. Save often, okay? I feel a little silly with that one, but hey, it happens to me. It'll happen to you. So just save often. You don't run into that problem. But I basically rebuilt my little examples here and I wanted to go back over them some, especially this one. I had used just a straight grade to surface whenever I created this part, and whenever I did, if I go over to sites and I check out site 1, which is where I created this under grading groups, here's building pad 1. If I right click and go to properties, I can look and I have a cut volume of nothing, a fill volume of 355 8.34 cubic yards, so I'm going to need that much more dirt whenever I am creating this from where I happen to have it. Now I want to stress that because if I come over here and I move this, so let's say I just move it, I don't know, right here. What you'll notice, if I go to my building pad and properties, all of a sudden, remember before I had no cut and no fill, and a lot of fill. In this case now I have a cut volume of 244.19 cubic yards and a fill volume of 4.59 cubic yards. So if you look, by just moving this, it recalculated what it takes for the surface to be in the area that you're at. Now let's see if I can, oops, grab the wrong one. There we go. Let's go way over here. And in this case, because this is so much higher on my object, you see I get a different cut and fill. And let me zoom in that there. I had accidentally moved that one without intending to. Alright, so that is how the surface is set up. Okay? Alright. So let's just kind of move everything back to where it was in its original home. There we go. And let's look at this one. This one I'm going to change up a little because I'm going to eventually do a cut and everything else, cut and fill. But I want to also show you another option, which is grade to distance, which is also something you may consider whenever you're designing. This is a neat little option, and it's going to work basically the same as all the others, just like grade to elevation and relative elevation. All those work the same way. So let's go over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select him. Let me right click and go to elevation editor, and if you look, he's way down on the ground, so let's move him up first before we do anything. And if I hover around here, this is about what, 490? That sounds good. Up here 494, down here 484, so about 10-foot difference down the slope from here to here. Now I'm going to go ahead, right click on this, go to raise lower, change the elevation to 490. And so now it's up at the elevation that I want it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, just like last time, we're going to kind of work left to right, and I'm going to create a new grading group. And I'm not going to call it building pad 1. I'm going to come over here, click on it, and let's call it, hey, let's be original. How about building plan 2? Ooh, that's good. All right, now description, I'm going to go ahead and leave that blank, but I am going to make sure that's checked and that's checked. So automatic surface creation, that's one of the ways that we'll be able to create the surface and then find a volume from it. So I want to make sure both those are checked. These are all, I'm just going to leave it to the default. I am going to make this a volume-based surface. Another thing I want to do, if I want to be able to get cut and fill volumes out of it. And what am I comparing it to? In this case, initial ground. Okay? So I'm going to come over, I'm going to click OK. That's the surface going to create. OK. OK. So I've got all that out of the way. These are all going to be fine because I preset them. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say grade to surface. I'm going to say grade to distance. I'm going to create a grading. And in this case, I'm going to click my feature line. Click outside because I want to grade it out. And do you want to apply the tire length? Oh yes, definitely. How far do you want to grade? Well, I'm going to say I want to grade 5 feet off of my initial pad. And I want to do a slope. And the slope I want to do a -5. So what this does is it now creates a surface at -5 of my object. Now, let me go ahead, create the infill right here, hit enter to get out of the command, and now let's kind of look at our thing. So if we come over here, object viewer, click on it. Oops, we clicked on one, but we didn't click on the other. There we go. That's what I wanted. And so what I've created is this pad, and then it slopes down. That distance is 5 feet, and it slopes down at a -5 to 1 grade. So basically, it slopes down 5 feet or so. And so now we have, sorry, not 5 feet. It slopes down 1 foot. And so now we have that pad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, hey, let's now grade to surface. And I'm going to create a grading group. I'm going to click the outer part. Yes, I want to do the entire length. Slope is 2 to 1. Fill is 2 to 1. And it's going to calculate. It's going to take a little while. And so now what I have is, let me get out of the command. Object viewer. Let's look at this. Is that you have the initial slope down, and then it decides whether it wants to cut or fill from there. So that's how our thing's going to set up. So this is pretty cool. Now let's go over and let's see what the volume is on this guy. So I'm going to select it. Properties. Well, here, cut volume 719, fill volume 1073. So this is a pretty big undertaking. Now, if I selected my object, and let me try to grab the right thing here. Let's see. Zoom in here. I want to grab the feature line. I don't know if I grabbed it. Let's see if I grabbed it. Let's just keep this simple. Select it all. Move over to here. adjust this a little. There we go. And let's check our volume here, surface properties. Oh, hit the wrong thing, sorry. Properties. Fill volume, no fill. Heck of a lot of cut though. So, let's see, surface property, oh, sorry. Object viewer, check it on the sideline. So there you go. So, real interesting way you can move things around, change things, stuff like that. And so try to go over and play with some of these and mess around with the way these are and get your volumes and things like that. All right.